I'd like to extend my heartfelt appreciations to Kharajama and the whole team at Qulan Youth for bringing together this remarkable assembly of young change makers, activists, and leaders at the second annual Youth Summit.
Gathering by formally recognizing that we're hosting this event on Treaty 6 territory in a Métis region for a traditional meeting ground and gathering place and travel route for diverse Indigenous people. Since time immemorial, First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people have cared for these lands and they continue to do so today. As an organization, Qulan is grateful to have a public platform through which we are committed to support our community member here on Treaty 6. As we continue to build our second home on these lands, I commit to centering joyful community and freedom like Indigenous people all over the world have done for thousands of years. I do this by intentionally creating spaces for folks to show up and participating in their most authentic selves in both personal and public spaces. With that, on behalf of our board and staff of Qulan, I welcome you guys here today. And our first speaker here today is Qadr, Executive Director of the Qulan Company, and he's going to start off with our opening ceremony.
Joseph, that was actually great. My name is Kharajama. I'm the Executive Director of Home Youth Services, and on behalf of the team, on behalf of the Board of Directors, I just want to say thank you very much and welcome you to second annual Youth Summit. And it's my pleasure to see so many faces, to see so many young people, to see the community members, to see the parents. And we're always here to welcome so many community members every year, so many of our young people, especially the youth. And every year, we try to at least encourage the young generations to become the leaders of this nation. And you are the leaders. Like when me and Omar started in 2018, we were only a small team. We used to meet at Tim Hortons. We used to meet at community spaces. We didn't have even an office. Me and Omar and the rest of the team, we used to go around and talk to everyone saying that, hey, we want to do something for the community. We want to make change. We want to create at least the leaders of tomorrow. And the reason that we here after 5 years is to bring so many young people from the community. Especially last year, we hired 20 young people to do the Canada Summer Job. And this year, we hired also 19. We want to increase at least. Next year, we want to increase. But we can't do it without you. We can't do it without the contribution from the community, without the volunteers, without the board of directors, without the leaders of the community. The plan and the things that we're trying to do every day is increasing. And I want to say thank you to everyone and welcome to our second annual Youth Summit. So let's work together, let's change and do something for our community. And you have to put in mind that you are the leaders, you are the people who will be leading for this community. And your parents, the community, and everyone in this nation needs you tomorrow. So thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And before I start talking about my little speech that I prepared, I just want to give it a little intro to what I'm going to be speaking about. So I'm going to be speaking about the adversities I face, and I know a lot of my sisters face, as a Black Muslim woman in university, and not just in university, but in the general society. Before I get into that, so right now I'm currently studying nursing at U of A. So I'm speaking specifically from the experiences I face at U of A. Before I start talking about the hardships, I just want to give a little background. So for me, going into uni, I never really thought about how being a Muslim or being Black or being a woman would actually impact my education in a negative way. I just thought, I knew microaggressions existed. And I knew people treat me differently because of who I am, but I never really understood the severity of it. So for example, I remember going into university. For me, I graduated from the Islamic Academy. So Ramadan was one of the things that, it was just a given. Ramadan comes along and the schedule changes catering towards Ramadan. I would wake up later, I'd go to Taraweeh. But first year of university hits around, and not just Ramadan, I have to wake up at 8 a.m., but my finals are also this time around. So there are so many hardships that I faced of being Muslim and having to deal with this. At first, I was talking to my sisters about it, and I was like, this is crazy. You want me to go to school fasting 8 a.m. and write a final? It's insane. But she told me one of the things was that I went in with a mindset that was very negative. I thought there was no change that I could make because of the situation. And I feel like that's one of the things that I really want to talk about in this little time I'm given to speak about, or to speak. I had a mindset where the change couldn't happen, and that I live in a society that works against me. But going into university and talking to my sisters, I realized that I live in a world at a time, alhamdulillah, that because of my voice and because of the impact I have, I can make a change. I just need an ear that listens. I just need someone to listen to what I have to say. So one of my sisters went and she talked to her professors and she educated them, first of all. And from just that education, educating that professor, she was so understanding and she said, oh, you could push the final. And that moment, I had a light bulb moment and I was like, this is crazy, you know? From this small situation, I realized that I have the impact to make a change. And I understand for this small example I give, it's just about fasting and changing a final. And that's something so easily done. But if you really look at the bigger picture, me being a Muslim woman in university, I'm gonna face challenges. And I'm gonna face moments where people are not gonna accept me for who I am. And I'm me, you know, I'm Muslim, I'm black, and I'm a woman, and I'm not gonna give any part of myself away for that. And I have to realize that I have the ability to go and make a change. That's one of the things I realized I never really thought about. I always thought I was just little Yusra, you know, like who am I really gonna do it? Who am I to really make a change? I'm in my first year, I have my own struggles. How can I really make an impact? Making an impact doesn't mean you get a whole board to sit in front of and you have to talk to them and convince them and bring out a PowerPoint. Making a change just means voicing your opinion, saying what's right, advocating for what you believe. And that's something that's so important. Don't let situations and people pick away parts of your identity and then say, okay, well, I can't really do anything about it. That's not true. That's never true. If you have a voice, which a lot of us, alhamdulillah, have, you could definitely make an impact. And there's no question about it. I'm gonna go teary a little bit, but the other day, I actually saw a Wenger quote, and it was basically saying something along the lines of, if you do the same things that you did, you can't expect to get different results than what you got. Breaking it down, basically saying that if I do the same things that I used to do, I can't expect for me to have a different result. I can't expect for me to make a change just because of the emotion and the way I feel about a situation changes. I actually have to make an active effort. I have to put my foot forward and do what's best for myself. Being in university, I realized that it would be very selfish of me if I don't stand up for what's right. When I'm faced with these adversities, for example, another example I'm gonna give, a lot of people believe that for nurses, you have to wear the pants scrubs, right? And for me as a Muslim, as Yusra, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And I thought there was no negotiating about it. I thought that wasn't even a door that I could open. And I could say, hey, I actually don't feel comfortable wearing scrubs. I wanna wear my skirt with the scrub top. I never knew that was an option. Later, I realized that, like I said earlier, because I have a voice, I have the ability to change people's perspective, to educate someone. To say, hey, you know, this is my beliefs and my thoughts, and I don't feel comfortable doing that. And alhamdulillah, like I said earlier, the society we live in is so accepting of that. And we're able to make change. You're able to make a path for not just myself, but also the people that are gonna follow that have similar experiences that I'll face, right? I know that 1 year or 2 years later, there's gonna be another Muslim girl, and she's gonna be thinking the same thoughts that I thought. She's gonna say, hey, you know, like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna fast and do my final? Or hey, I don't feel comfortable wearing scrubs, I wanna wear my skirt too. I just wanna be accepted in society. And if I don't make a change, and if I don't go and talk to people and advocate for them and use my voice, then I'm not doing my younger sister justice. And it's not fair because I know that there's so many older sisters that I have and older brothers that helped me and paved the way for me to have this whole opportunity to even speak, right? I have so many people that came before me that gave me opportunities to do what I do and be able to have these conversations. One last thing before I go for a little question and answer, I just want to talk about one of the things that I found different. So for me, going into university, I never really thought about how the environment and the people that you surround yourself with impacts you or takes away parts of yourself. I was put in different situations where I felt that not by being my full self, I wasn't accepted, you know? By showing my full, you know, by being Muslim or by representing who I am fully, the people around me didn't accept me for that. And I remember I used to struggle with them, and talking to my older sisters, one thing that they constantly said is that if you're in an environment where people don't fully accept you for who you are, leave the environment. You don't owe anyone in that space your time. If they can't accept you fully for who you are, adi, you just gotta go. And you're gonna find these spaces like this, where there's people like you that connect with you and accept you for who you are fully. You don't have to battle, oh, do I be my full self? Do I say my full opinion? Be who you are fully. And so that's one of the last things I want to wrap up this conversation with. Be who you are fully, and don't put yourself in environments where you feel that your identity is being tackled with and played with. Because you have the right, just like how they have the right to be themselves, you have the right to be yourself fully. So don't ever pick away parts of yourself to fit the group you're in. Because you're gonna find spaces like this. You're gonna find people and groups like this where they accept you fully. And like that, you can flourish.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start with a story. In April of 2022, there was a young man who had his whole life ahead of him. He had goals and aspirations just like many of us here do today. He was a contributing member of society. He was respected amongst his peers and amongst his colleagues. One day, he got into a car accident, severely injured him. He hurt his hips, his lower back, and other parts of his body. When he went to the doctor and going through the typical physiotherapy treatment plan, he was also prescribed painkillers. And these painkillers were, at first they were very, very beneficial for him because it helped him recover. But as time went on, he became more and more addicted to these painkillers. His body became adapted to it. And unfortunately, one day, a friend came to him and gave him a suggestion that unfortunately changed his life. This suggestion was fateful, and told him, why don't you go on Snapchat, since your doctor will no longer prescribe these painkillers for you, and look for oxycodone and other kinds of painkillers that you need to get better, and buy it off there. So he took that suggestion and did that, and unfortunately, the process was simple, easy, and effective. It was basically delivered to his house. When it was brought to his house, he took one pill, and Allahu Haristu. He passed away instantaneously. His family found him a few hours later in his room. And this story, and what's scary actually is, the toxicology report that was conducted, the autopsy report, it stated that that one pill that he took was strong enough to kill 5 grown people. Subhanallah. And when you think about this kind of generic story, it's happened thousands and thousands of times to families throughout the Western world, in Canada, Australia, and especially in the United States. So the drug I'm talking about is fentanyl, and fentanyl was first introduced in 1959. And at first it was only used in a hospitalized, controlled environment. So basically what happened was only patients that had severe cancer, advanced stage cancer, stage 4 cancer, were the ones that were using it in a controlled environment. Unfortunately, as time went on, decades later, fast forward, this drug has destroyed communities throughout the world. And what happened was, the Chinese have manufactured it in mass production. They've shipped it to Mexico. The Mexican cartel, they shipped it through the Mexican-US border, and now the damage has already been done. And honestly, looking at the numbers are terrifying. Wallahi, they're horrifying. Every single day, 20 people die of fentanyl drug overdoses. Every single day, not per week, not per month, per day. Every few hours in New York City, someone dies of a drug opioid overdose. In Ontario, if you look at the young people, the deaths among young people has tripled between 2014 and 2021. Alberta doesn't fare much better. If you think the numbers in Alberta are good, unfortunately they're not. In 2022, over 1,000 people died in fentanyl poisonings in Alberta, just Alberta. And the sad part is that when you look at these numbers, in the United States, it's even much worse. 70,000 people died in the United States in 2022 alone. I shudder to think what the numbers of this year is going to be once this year concludes and the numbers come out. The US President Joe Biden called it the biggest killer amongst young people. Think about that for a second. Not suicides, not car crashes, not sudden deaths, but these fentanyl poisonings is the #1 killer amongst young people. Even you look in Vancouver, Vancouver's been absolutely ravaged. If you look at downtown Vancouver, some parts of it looks like the apocalypse. And cities in the United States, such as San Francisco, have been completely ravaged in recent years. The last several years especially. When you look at San Francisco, around 6,000 to 8,000 homeless people are living in the streets of San Francisco approximately. And many of them, of course, with inflation increasing, with life becoming extremely difficult and expensive, they don't know where their next meal is going to come from. A lot of them are addicted to fentanyl. And they have become addicted the last several years. And unfortunately, what's occurred is between May of this year and November of this year, it's only a period of 6 months. The police has seized 76 kilograms of fentanyl in that short amount of time period. And do you know how much is needed to kill one person? 200 milligrams. We're talking just a few grains can kill a person from fentanyl poisoning and overdose. So if you look at these numbers, they're very staggering. What can we do as a community? The damage is already done because it's already here, it's rampant. What can we do to prevent it? The main thing we can do, there's a couple things, but the schools and the politicians, they need to look at the school curriculum and make it mandatory for drug education. Make it mandatory across all schools in the Western world and everywhere else that this drug is killing us and poisoning us. And make it mandatory that they learn and raise awareness from this fentanyl drug. Because this is a recent phenomenon. This didn't exist 20 years ago, like the way it does now. The second thing is that these counterfeit pills that you buy off Snapchat and other social media platforms, they look like any other regular pill that you purchase from a pharmacy. So you won't be able to tell the difference. And most of the time, these pills are mixed in with different kinds of drugs. So you're thinking you're buying oxycodone, but unfortunately it's laced with fentanyl, and that's where the danger comes from. So never ever purchase anything from the counterfeit pills from the streets. Never use Snapchat for these kinds of things, or any social media platforms, because you're playing with your life. It is Russian roulette, my brothers and sisters. Now, I'm going to transition briefly to mental health because I've talked about this and I think the issues are correlated to an extent. When you talk about mental health, drugs lead to mental health problems. And there was an initiative that was done, a cyberbullying initiative that was paid positive dividends, that raised awareness, because when you look at the anxiety, depression, and PTSD, it has in steep parallel rise with the rise of social media and other platforms where you can share pictures of yourself and these kinds of things, and cyberbullying becomes rampant. And there was another initiative in Zimbabwe by a psychologist by the name of Dr. Dixon Shibanda. And he was one psychologist treating over 1 million people. And he thought to himself, how can I bridge the gap? I'm only one person dealing with all these people. What can I do to narrow that gap and make the service much better for my community? So he started training grandmothers for basic cognitive behavioral therapy and evidence-based learning. And what happened as a result? The result was this initiative was a massive success, not only in different parts of the world, including the Western world, and not only that, the main reason is because they were able to resonate culturally with the people they were serving. You speak my language, you typically follow my religion, we're all Muslims, and we're all Somali, you're going to have commonalities with each other. That's why when it comes to treating a mental health patient, if you can resonate with them culturally, it pays positive dividends in the long run. And last but not least, just a couple last few words before I conclude. Advice to kids, the youth, join extracurricular activities. Don't waste your time on phones too long. Be productive with your time. When you join extracurricular activity, it creates a discipline and it creates a work ethic that will follow you for the rest of your life, because these are building habits. And to the parents, be involved with your children's lives. To the extent that you understand who they're associating with, learn the technologies that they're using so that you're not uneducated and you're not lost in what they're doing. And understand and have a rapport. If you have a rapport with your child and they feel comfortable approaching you in situations, they're not going to go to, because they're going to find advice elsewhere. If it's not you, they're going to speak to someone else for advice. And that person might not have their self-interest, their own interest at heart. So please keep that in mind as well. Last but not least, I conclude with a quote. One of my favorite quotes of all time. Watch your thoughts, as your thoughts might become your words. Watch your words, as your words might become your actions. Watch your actions, as your actions might become your habits. Watch your habits, as your habits might formulate your overall character and define your legacy.
Well, I'm English. Thank you very much for organizing this youth summit, Kulan. I think this is my second year of the summit. The last one we had at the Seniors Lions Center on the 111th was phenomenal to talk about issues that was important, and I think it is continuity of that, which was the mental health that that was eloquently spoken by the speaker who was here on the stage. So I just want to reiterate that the value and the importance that it has, that the need to have a conversation around these areas of mental health and the implications that it has when it comes to whether it is abuse of substances or other factors that affect the lives of the youth today. And having a platform like such a summit to talk about that is so important. I just want to underscore that. I don't want to ruin the wonderful speech that has already been delivered here on the topic. On the other hand, I also wanted to encourage the youth that are in the room tonight that I happen to be the first Somali descent that was elected in a public office, but I don't want to be, thank you. But I don't want to be the only one. I hope in the years to come that as we have similar type of events, that I want to see quite a number of you make the attempt to get elected into a public office where decisions are made, where policies are formulated, which governs and affects the lives of all of us, regardless of our backgrounds. With that, I wanted to call some of the youth leadership with Kulan and Khaled to come forward and receive a scroll that was prepared by myself and the MLA that represented this area where we have the event. Yeah, so this is in recognition of the Kulan Youth Services, the contributions and the strides that you make in the community, particularly on these topics of the focus on youth. As I've witnessed the second annual summit that is focused to the values and the importance of youth in our society.
Jazakallah khairan, yeah. So we started Kulan about 5-6 years ago, and we just networked, made connections to many different people, And I remember when I first met Khader, we didn't have many people. We were meeting at Tim Hortons, going to different coffee shops, networking with the community, and alhamdulillah, the organization has come a long way. And I'm looking forward to see what the future holds, inshallah.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sharif, and thanks everyone from the community who contributed for this great event and great organization that work for the community. So, and thanks for the young people, especially Yusuf and his team, who always work for us and for everyone to bring us together all the time and then look for the future. So thank you very much.
No, thank you, MLA Sharif Haji. Sometimes it feels good to be recognized for the work that you do for the community, but also what feels more better is the work that Kulam puts in to help the community strive to live a better life here in Edmonton. Right, the clients that we serve every single day, and the youth that we do such programs for, who we see come out to certain events over and over and over and again, and to see their commitment to the community and their community integration, and that's really what Kulan is all about. So
Thank you. I wasn't expected to speak today. I had no speech prepared at all. But I will just go off of what I said earlier. I'll speak on behalf of the school. I've had a chance to work with some young, fabulous kids from Queenie. I currently work at Emmy now. It's been a great experience working at Emmy. It's the same demographic. You get to meet young Somali kids at all times in their daily lives. And it's very important to just inspire them. Just be there for them, have that connection. That's a lot of things that kids don't have nowadays. And so I just want to tell a little bit of a quick story. There was a young lady who went to a junior high. Her parents reached out to me, and they basically said that they're struggling with trying to get their kid some sort of justice. A lot of times when you work with the school system and you work with the community and you're kind of torn apart, you want to help both. You want them to both have an understanding of balance. That's very tricky. So for me, my goal in life is to always help the community as much as I can. That's why I volunteer. So this young lady, when her parents reached out, they faced a lot of racism. And they basically were confused because the school wasn't helping them. The community was there for them, but at the same time, they just didn't know how they can help them. So the first thing I did was I basically advised the parents, if you want justice in this system, you have to be able to use the same policies that they created for your advantage. One thing that I noticed in the Education Act is that as a parent, if you make it all about your kid, the school will hear you. So the number one thing that schools really thrive in is a welcoming, safe, and caring environment. If your kid does not feel that in the school system, then you can use that against them. And in this case, the young lady, what happened to her was, it was a group of friends, they were in grade 5, and basically, one of the kids said to the young lady that she's black and she's ugly. And the reason they said that is because they were playing a game called Beautiful or Ugly. And right off the bat, as soon as I heard that from the parent, I'm like, where's this going? Because what grade 5-year-old played this game called Beautiful and Ugly? And so when I met with the teachers and the staff members, they basically covered it up and said, oh, they were playing a game called Ugly, which is an acronym for Unique, Gorgeous, Love Yourself. And so I'm like, 10-year-olds came up with that idea, like that acronym. They're like, yeah, so when they told this girl she's black and ugly, they meant she's black, unique, gorgeous, love yourself. And I was like, that does not make sense. That is absolutely absurd. So basically, the parent got really upset because they were trying to flip the script. And I told the parent, remember, if your kid feels unsafe in that school, let's really address that. And so we use receipts. The good thing is we went online. And when we went online, if kids talk to each other or do the online bullying, everything is kept as a message. So the text messages, the group chats that they chat in, basically sends it to their email. And so I said to the principal, do you know that this student was also getting bullied online? And they're like, oh, that's not possible. We're on top of everything. I said, did you check the emails? Did you guys ever check your emails that they sent you of what the kid said? And then she's like, what did they say? So I said, they kept on saying this girl's black and ugly. So are they still saying she's unique, gorgeous, love yourself after 2 months? And so after battling the school and basically really addressing how the kid felt unsafe in school and online was huge, the school basically was hands off. But that didn't mean that solved the problem. A lot of parents that I reach out to in all the schools is, if we solve one problem, that doesn't solve all of the problems, because they will pick on somebody else. And the reason they do that is because we are not aware of all the tools that we have in our hand, and we don't use those to our advantage. So what I say to parents is, remember, when your kids start school, always ask all the questions. What's happening? Can I see log entries? Can I have access to all the suspensions, letters? All these are important because then you can use that to your advantage. So you're aware of your kid. If they know you're a part of your kid's life every single day, then they can't touch you. And as a community, we need to really empower ourselves by being educated, understanding the education system and how it works. So thank you so much. I wasn't really prepared to do a speech today, but I just wanted to talk about the education. And if anybody has any question regarding schools and what's required, what's needed, I'll do my best to answer. Thank you so much.